Now, as you know, today I am chatting with Elinor about how you can drastically increase your engagement on LinkedIn. Elinor is the construction coach, so she's a leader in the construction industry, working with professionals to propel their career. She's also been featured as a top 100 women in construction and is one of Australia's top 500 women in property program. She's also an exceptional panelist, speaker, a networker, which is exactly why I've asked her here today to talk to us all, especially about LinkedIn. I've also had the pleasure of seeing Elinor in her networking zone during her own events at Victory. But now with coronavirus making that impossible, we are forced to take that networking online, making platforms like LinkedIn more important than ever. So if everyone doesn't mind, I'd love to kind of begin our Q&A. Elinor, I would love to know what you think about LinkedIn and do you think it is really important during this time?
I absolutely love LinkedIn, and that's evident by how many times I show up on the platform. It was actually when I held my workshop at Victory offices and I had everyone in the room turn on their LinkedIn via the Bluetooth feature to connect with each other. And 5 out of 18 participants, as they opened up LinkedIn, I was the first on their feed, and it was all a different post, which was hilarious, but also proves that it does work. And as a platform that connects people and brings clients to businesses and offers more networking opportunities than any other platform, it is so imperative. Whether you are a professional, whether you are a business owner, you cannot be in the social age without having an active presence on LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. However, with that being said, I definitely consider myself a LinkedIn novice. And I think one of my biggest roadblocks around LinkedIn is feeling quite self-conscious because, unlike other platforms like social media platforms like Instagram or Facebook, you are kind of selling yourself. There is that note to it. You are there in a professional sense. You are selling yourself and your career. So do you have any tips on how you might be able to kind of change that self-conscious mindset around almost creating a bit of a product for yourself? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's first of all the perception that you hold of yourself and what you're actually here to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are absolutely resolute in your message and what you have to offer in terms of value adding to the community that you want to build, it sort of becomes a no qualm situation about using the platform, because LinkedIn is just a tool. It is just a tool that you have in your armory, in your toolkit, in order to get your message out there. But a lot of people will do this maybe once or twice, and then, as you said, they get very self-conscious because we're not used to putting ourselves out there in an arena for anyone who has an opinion to say something about your work. You're putting yourself out there in a way that is quite exposing. It's sharing your thoughts, it's sharing your experiences. And you will find that people who are achieving less than what you're doing, they're going to be the first that will come up with something negative to say. And without building the resilience piece in your mindset, that's going to deter people. That is the first thing that is going to deter people from stopping themselves from adding value to the community. It is what other people will say. And I do not care what other people say, because who are these other people that we keep on referring to? Literally, who are they and why do they have so much weight and bearing across our business and our career? They don't. So of course, when I first had to go on Instagram Live, it took hours of preparation and consideration, and I was absolutely nervous, but I had to pinpoint what it was, and it was what other people think. But then you realize, as I said, they don't think, and you just go on and do it. You share the content, and if people are talking about your content and the fact that you're on LinkedIn all the time, that is fantastic. You're achieving exactly what you need to. But without actually honing in on the mindset piece behind putting yourself out there and learning how to be comfortable with that, you're going to burn out on this platform.
Yeah, no, definitely. Really well said as well. So thank you. That was really motivating. Uh, there was just something I wanted to kind of step back. You talk about how when you first, start, um, adding your thoughts and your ideas to LinkedIn. Can I ask, how often do you think you should be doing
According to Gary Vee, you should be producing 120 pieces of content a day, but he also runs a media company and has a
that?
behind him, which isn't achievable for everyone else.
Mhm.
It's not so much about, it is quantity and quality in the first instance, because after all, LinkedIn is an algorithm. So the more active that you are on the platform, the more likely it is that your metrics are going to engage over time. They are not going to drastically change within a week. They're probably not going to change within a month, but they can drastically change over 30 days, especially 90 to 100 days, because right now there is a lot of noise on LinkedIn. So it takes longer. So it is around the 120-day mark where you can get consistency in your results. But it's as simple as engaging for 15 minutes a day. That is just the engagement piece. If you want to be producing content, I do 2 or 3 a day. And that takes a lot of time outside the actual posting time. It is the creation that is important. But I know my message. But for the professional who wants to say something, it can be as simple as 1 video a week and then 3 or 4 posts a week. That is enough to get you above the average. That's going to start moving you up.
Okay, so we're posting 3 to 4 times a week, with video engagement as well. Do you think video engagement is important on LinkedIn?
Video is really important. For me, I found that my video metrics actually get less even views, not even views as a video, but as a post. But video is absolutely important because it allows people to experience you, right?
Yeah.
You as an individual, you're not this perfectly created motivational picture. You are a person with a voice, and you need to get comfortable in front of the camera when you're putting yourself out there. So video is absolutely important.
It's humanizing. So just looking at the average LinkedIn page, what would you say are some common mistakes that people make in representing themselves? And how would you go about fixing them? I wish I had my own LinkedIn to just like give everyone an example of like a really average LinkedIn page.
No, not at all. The commonalities I see in LinkedIn pages is that they're really boring. They are very boring. And I think of LinkedIn as your LinkedIn page as you're inviting someone over. Is this all that you want to show them about what you do and who you are? And what you do is one thing. And, it's very common. You scroll through profiles and it's an experienced professional with 27 years experience. That says nothing to me. That does not tie into a human connection. That is so generic that it does you no benefit. It does nothing for you. The profiles that are exemplary or that start to stand out is when they are humanized, when they show who the person is behind the profile. It has personality, it demonstrates attributes. Like, you're an event coordinator, but you don't just run events. You are so dedicated. You have customer service. You have an exemplary level of customer service. You help businesses, and you yourself are very energetic and always available to clients, for example. And once you start seeing those added elements of personality in a profile, that's when you actually start reading. That's when you start engaging. And then that's when you need to start saying, okay, this person is active. This person has posted. This person has, I love the new features section on LinkedIn because it really gives an opportunity to highlight a carousel of things that you have done. But I'm not going to even bother looking at that if something as basic as your bio is generic and boring and just cookie cutter professionalism. That is not enough.
And going back to that first question of, being, how can we switch up our mindset around being self-conscious? I mean, that's a kind of a perfect example of a way that you can do that, because, by humanizing yourself, you're no longer, hiding behind this idea of like what you should be on LinkedIn, this kind of profile with the suit and the tie and, looking like every other Joe Blow sort of thing. You can, inject your own humanizing self to it.
Absolutely.
You already said it beautifully. Okay, so in that case, what are some things that you think you should absolutely have included in your bio?
It's not just what you do,
Mm-hmm.
who you are. What are the key words that are integral to who you are? For me, it's ambitious and achievement, right? For me, my bio is a very brief summary of what I actually do, what is the value that I deliver. So the bio is an absolutely imperative space in which you need to play at. The photo also needs to be not a selfie, not a photo from your holiday. It needs to be a photo that captures who you are. It can't be something that is so far away that people can't see your face. The face is really important on LinkedIn. And the features profile, the features section, which I just mentioned, that needs to be filled, because I go to that now instead of the bio. I want to see what people have actually done, right? Whether that's, an event that they've hosted. I want to know what's interesting about this person, and this feature section really allows for that. And then as you move down the page, it is about having an up-to-date work history.
Mm-hmm.
But in the description where people talk about their work, they talk about it in terms of a job description, like they've copied the original job description and then just copied that in. You're more than your job title. You are more than just 7 years of experience. So there's a lot of coloring in that needs to happen on LinkedIn pages. And then as you move down, the part where people recommend you for skills is very outdated. What matters now is referrals, because that's pretty much a reference. And the referral part is really important because it shows what other people are saying about you. So make an effort to get referrals once you engage with people. And that starts to build what LinkedIn calls the all-star profile, but that is just the minimum.
Yeah, okay, wonderful. I have seen those referrals. Okay, so aside from making your profile the best it can be, how do you go about actually finding a community on LinkedIn?
That really ties in the first place to your messaging.
Mm-hmm.
What you're actually here to do, what is your value proposition to your community, and how you're going to actually serve the community. Because what I find is that people build the community, and by that it's the numbers of people in your network, not necessarily a group on LinkedIn, and then they start posting and then they disappear. You are doing a disservice to your community. That's not fair on the people that have chosen to be in your community. That is why I show up every single day without failure for, I don't even remember how long now, because I've made a promise to the people in my community that you're going to get value from me. So when you're building a community, it's really thinking about what do they need? Because a community is nothing about you. It's nothing about me or what I desire or what people aren't interested in me. They're interested fundamentally in themselves. And that's just how it is. And that's human nature. So it's really about thinking, what am I here to deliver for this community? What do they need? What is it? If it's business, do they need business know-how? Do they need business mindset development? Do they need access to business leaders? What is it that they actually need? And then you need to facilitate that as the leader of your community.
Yeah, absolutely. Just figuring out the ways that you can add value either to their 9 to 5 or even maybe potentially after their 9 to 5 and they get home and want to kick up their feet, which also, once again, adds value to their 9 to 5.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, something I find difficult to do, especially because a lot of my connections on LinkedIn are purely professional. A lot of those connections I actually haven't even met before. I know you kind of have covered this, but I do find it difficult to engage in the same way that I would on other networking sites like Facebook or Instagram. What are some ways that you might open up those conversations with, say, like a cold connection who you've decided to follow because potentially you have a similar background, or you just feel like this could be a connection that could be worthwhile for the both of you? Do you do that via the chat, or connecting with the posts that they create?
That's definitely two of the avenues. So
Mm-hmm.
first of all, I have over 10,000 connections, followers across my Instagram and LinkedIn, and I do not know all of them. I guarantee you, I do not know all of them. Some I do know in real life, some are just purely virtual connections, others I have no idea. But the point of LinkedIn isn't only to network within your own circle. The point of LinkedIn is to get as many people in your network that will benefit from your message and what you are trying to say. So there is no, I'm raising this because people sometimes look at the numbers and say, oh, they've got 15,000. They don't know them. They're just being shallow about this. It's actually none of that. You are bringing in people into your community that will benefit from being in there.
Mm.
So ways to engage. It's easy to start the engagement piece when you're putting out content, because it actually stops a lot of the cold messaging that you're not really sure what to do with. So putting out content allows people to see who you are, what you're about, and then they either start commenting, liking, and the more they do that again and again and again, you by default remember them. I remember the people who like every single one of my posts, and I'm grateful for that, and I see that. So when they come into my direct messages and ask a question, that's fine. I'm available for that. So that's when they come to me. When I go to other people, if I am looking to approach someone, say it's for the podcast, I want to ask them to be a guest on my podcast, I do a thorough review of their profile. I do a thorough review of their digital footprint, and it shows that I've taken the time to actually assess who they are and how our values can align via this collaboration that I have in mind. So it's always about having a value exchange. It's not just that I want something from you. That's great, me and everyone else, and vice versa. People that come to me, yeah, you want something, you and everyone else. You're offline. So it's really important that you actually do your homework about someone, and especially when approaching, because that's the point of a profile. The information is there, and there is nothing more basic or lazy than people who ask questions such as, what do you do? I mean, really, it's all on my profile. It's on my website. It is on multiple platforms, which you could have taken a minute to realize. So it's about positioning yourself that it's a value exchange, and to not be lazy about any of the approaches, and to actually do the approaching, because that's where people also don't get the total value out of LinkedIn, is they never take a connection from the public, I guess you could call it, feed into the DM space.
Yeah.
They're just so scared that the person isn't going to respond. So what? They haven't responded. There are how many people on LinkedIn that can respond to you? So don't focus on that. Focus on what you actually can benefit from.
I mean, when we're done with coronavirus and we're all back out in the wild again, how often or how do you even take a cold, someone cold from your LinkedIn community, and end up taking that into the real world and have a conversation with them? Does that happen, and does that happen often? And if so, what are the steps to get there?
It does, and it depends what, if you're coming up with a business collaboration, then you jump on the phone, you potentially go into a meeting, but it's about being very clear on the objectives that you're trying to achieve out of the discourse. It's also as easy as inviting someone to an event when you're going to it, in order to get to know them on a physical level or on a face-to-face interaction. So you can invite someone to an event knowing that this event will benefit them. It could be inviting them right now to a webinar. it could be an ongoing process of sharing links. But I think inviting someone to an event is quite underrated. People don't do that enough because you both have the opportunity to interact with that person, but you also have the opportunity to interact with many other people, and it's a win-win situation. So I don't see a lot of people doing that, but that's something that I've done all the time, not just because I run events, but even before that, it is about bringing people into spaces which you operate in. So an event, a workshop, a conference, and this isn't something that I do because I cannot stand going for coffees with people, but asking someone to go for a coffee is quite acceptable.
No, I love that. You're exactly right. I haven't really heard of a lot of people kind of taking, you know, a LinkedIn date to a networking event, but it immediately leverages you as an expert in your field. And yeah, it's often going for coffees, or, you know, it's the same thing as like having those cold DMs. It's like, well, this is just a time waste, really. Now, I think another roadblock for me, and you kind of touched on this point just then, but another roadblock for me is not necessarily using LinkedIn with a goal in mind. You know, do you have an intention when you're using LinkedIn? You know, is that intention to get more sales? Is that intention to increase traffic to a particular blog or website or so forth?
I definitely use LinkedIn with intention because I have a business and I have a brand that I'm building. I have events to obviously fill. I have a podcast which needs ears. So, and so many more things in the making, which I need to get in front of the right people. So I have not just a commercial intention, but the community leadership intention. But if you don't have that, even in a professional capacity, that is fine. That doesn't mean you don't have value to the community. Your LinkedIn presence then comes from engaging with other people's content. It is not hard to actually leave a comment that is a sentence, and LinkedIn is not the place to be leaving a smiley face or a thumbs up or 100. That doesn't work on LinkedIn. That is just useless, and people don't respond to that. Without a message on your LinkedIn, you can still engage with the people in your community, because again, that helps you stand out. They're going to see you. They're going to see you again and again and again. And you get exposure to their networks as well. So if it was, I'll just use an example in construction. If you're a graduate, of course, your value proposition to LinkedIn is going to be quite low, but you have the opportunity to network with so many other construction industry professionals, project managers, contract administrators, hiring professionals, and they're going to see you again and again. You're actually showing that you're taking the time to read their content, and then your name gets constant exposure to everyone in their networks. But it doesn't work when you just put a thumbs up, because people then know you're just using it to get visibility, and they're probably going to block and delete you. So the engagement piece is really important when you're not there to sell, you're not there to build, you're just there because you're there to network. So you have to talk to people. If you're not online now, you're going to miss the boat, and it's going to be so hard to paddle out there once the ship has sailed. It's not even going to be funny, because not just is everyone getting online, but the large corporations are really going to start seeing the value in this, because the LinkedIn algorithm isn't like the Instagram algorithm at the moment. So they're going to start funneling millions of dollars into advertising. Corona's probably accelerated that process because they only want to get in front of the eyes. So your eyes, your attention. So right now is the time to be getting online. You cannot be not a professional, not a business owner, not anything without an online presence at the moment, and moving forward, of course.
I think, I guess from my point of view, and my name's Wendy Dawson, as per the log on there for Zoom. I'm the Chief Brand Officer for Victory Offices. So thank you again, Elinor and Kate, for this afternoon. If I think about and reflect on some of the comments that you made that really resonate with me, because you know, our whole business, like Kate and I, we do face-to-face events. I do a lot of strategic networking and business relationships and all of that's kind of gone out of the window as we have to kind of, you know, stay isolated in these four walls and move online. And you do have to, as you do that, you can't kind of just put out information on a variety of topics. You just kind of have to, all right, so what are the messages, you know, that you're trying to get out there? What are you trying to educate people on? And also, I think that LinkedIn, like, you seriously, when it first came out, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, yeah, it was a platform that was basically an online business card. You know, it certainly is not the massive engagement tool that we have now. And if I think about the power of video and, you know, the stats that come out from LinkedIn, and when you said that actually gets people to see you, who you are, that's so very true, because you know, it's the they talk about video being 20 times more likely to be shared than just static content. And really what you're trying to do is you're trying to get your message out there, and whether that is around, because it's not a forum in which, hi, I'm selling, who wants to be sold to? Because nobody wants to be sold to, although my husband does accuse me of being the you know, salesperson. You know, we love buying stuff, so anyway, maybe I want to be sold to. But so I think it's a little bit around, you know, what's your message, what are you trying to convey, and stay on target. And yeah, you have to, that resilience piece, you do have to kind of keep at it, because you're gonna do something and it's gonna fall flat, and you're gonna go, well, nobody likes me. Well, actually, not really. Nobody saw you. Nobody engaged with you.
So Elinor,
Right.
I have a question from Lisa O'Brien. So she says she's new to LinkedIn, and she's asking what's the first thing that she should do. I mean, so aside from obviously making a wonderful profile that's humanizing and, you know, filled with her own wonderful personality.
One part is the profile, so make sure that you do work on the profile, but the other part is to start actually connecting with people in your immediate industry. So if you're in construction, you're going to start, first of all, connecting with people in your organization. You're going to start connecting with people in parallel organizations, and you're going to start joining potentially groups and communities which are relevant to your industry, because that's how you start that brand building and exposure piece. So you do have to put in the time to connect with people in the first place, because you're a new profile that's not going to be seen on the page where, you know, people you may know or connections on the side of your profile. You're not going to show up there. You need to actually go out there and introduce yourself to the market.
Well said, beautiful. And then I have I guess a statement from Daniel, but I'll kind of try and phrase it as a question. So Daniel said he started a business and is wondering if he should grow his audience on his business profile or on his personal profile. He's struggling to grow a following on the business profile at this stage.
Definitely your personal profile, because you are not your business title. You are Daniel, and this is your business. Because if for some reason that business were to not exist, you don't want to not exist with the business, right? So your brand is always your name. And only recently has LinkedIn made it that your company page, that you can interact as it. Beforehand, it was just literally a wall that you would put in content and it may show up in someone's feed. Only recently they've made it that you can actually be the page and interact as that, but you're going to get the most value from promoting your business via who you are. Okay, so whatever, you know, say your business is construction, well, there are so many construction companies. Why do I go to Daniel's Construction instead of Wendy's Constructions? Because I know Daniel, because Daniel has put out a lot of content around who he is, his story, his message, and, you know, everything around the business. Not selling me anything, not selling me the fact that Daniel's Construction is a leading construction. Well, so is Wendy, but I'm going to go with Daniel. You can only create that human connection when there is a name and a face associated with the business. So I only recommend that you do all your promotional work from your personal page.
Okay, beautiful. Now I've got one last question. from Chris Baxter here. Daniel's also said thank you so much, and that was really insightful. So Chris Baxter
because his business got the business, not mine.
So Chris Baxter has said, hi everyone, Elinor, great webinar. Thanks for the insight so far. His question is, how important is the connection request message? And do you have any tips for strengthening this for a more successful hit rate?
If you're basing it on volume, meaning you're just trying to fill the funnel so that when you put a message out, you get to as many people as possible, it's probably not going to be that effective to have a connection message each and every time. So the volume thing can sometimes get in the way. But if you are connecting with an individual and you want a future relationship or connection with that individual that isn't just a number or a metric, then yes, the message is important. And it's not just, hi, I'd like to add you to my network. Yeah, I figured that out. Hi, I've actually gone through your content and this is what I found interesting. I'd like to connect with you so I can experience more of your content, or vice versa. I'd like to connect with you in ambition of, so what's the purpose? Don't connect with me and then immediately follow up with, I have a digital marketing agency and we can increase your views and sales. Trust me, I don't care. I really don't. So the message that you send has to show that you actually took the time to review the profile and what this person is about, and you picked up something, and it shows that you want to connect with that person from a strategic level. And the people that connect with me and that do that, I also return the favor. I engage with their content. I reply. I don't reply to people that just say hi. Like, hi what? This isn't a face-to-face conversation. It actually needs some gusto, and you actually have to take initiative with this. And because no one takes initiative, when you do a little bit of it, you automatically stand out. It is really not that hard. So when you do approach someone, make sure there is, context to the message. It shows that you've reviewed them. And if worse comes to worse, hi, I'd like to add you to my network. Great.
Beautiful. Quick, succinct, unmemorable, yes. But
exactly. It really depends what you're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. One more question from John Court, and then we will really wrap up. He's just asked, what are some ways that you can personalize your homepage? So I know we said you should personalize your homepage, but is that maybe through the language that you use, through the photograph you use?
The cover and photo, they're really powerful tools. They can show a lot of insight into your world. The language that you use, so it's not, John is an experienced professional. It's, I am an ambitious and driven leader in the construction industry. Like, one has more impact over the other. So it is the language that you introduce into your platform, and that feature section is really powerful. So if you have ever posted about a project that you've completed, if you've ever ran an event, done a charity event, whatever it is, that personalization is going to come from that featured carousel. It is very powerful, and a new feature that I clearly love. I've spoken about it 3 times, but the language is powerful. It's bringing in that I, it's bringing in those words and adjectives that show that you are more than a professional. You have interests, you have values, you have so much to you, and that's what's necessary in the personalization piece.
No, that was beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Elinor. That was so insightful. I just wanted to ask, would you like to share your exclusive offer that you have with our attendees for today?
Thank you, Kate. I do have an offer that is only available to people who have registered to this webinar. As I said before, there is no time like right now to be getting online, and you need to do that quickly. And the best way to get ahead is to always lean into the experience of someone else. And I do this to short circuit everything I want to do. I look at who's done what I need to do and how do I actually get to work with them. So I'm going to offer a highly reduced consultancy for obviously LinkedIn, and it's going to involve one LinkedIn profile review. So I'll look at your profile and give you feedback as to how you can really improve your homepage. we're going to have one session on mindset, because without actually fixing the mindset, which is foundational to everything that you will do, you're going to just forget about LinkedIn and pretend this never happened. So your mindset is hugely important. We're going to have another session on messaging and content, because I think you said it before, Wendy, is that sometimes people put out information. It's like, I'm an expert in COVID, and then I'm an expert in this, and here's my opinion on this. None of that sticks. Your messaging and content needs to be very succinct. It needs to be this tight package, and that actually gives you more opportunity to create content than not. And then we're going to go through a final session about the tactical. So actually understanding how this platform actually works and how you can get the best out of this algorithm before it changes. So typically my fee to do this package is $697, but only for the next 24 hours, I'm making it available for $337. And you can make that back pretty much immediately from one client, one event. It is a negligible amount. So if you would like to work with me on your LinkedIn presence and actually leveraging your profile, I'll put the email address to get in touch with my team to take up that offer.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much once again.
No problem.
If you haven't already, please pop your LinkedIn in the comment section. I'll stay online for a little while longer, just so everyone has the chance to copy and paste and quickly find each other. And yeah, well, thank you so much, Elinor.
Pleasure. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Wendy. I look forward to hosting real life events at Victory.
Oh,
Yeah,
please.
absolutely. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.